Hey everybody, just me again, Wayne. What I have for you today is the first of several parts. This was the last one-on-one real-time conversation I had with Doug Brignole, and we talked for nearly 2 hours and covered a whole bunch of topics, so you can see why there's going to be several parts here. In this first section, we're discussing the difficulty of training glutes. And also, Doug lets drop an interesting piece of information. Something that, I'm sorry, apparently never came to fruition. Which is that he was with a collaborator working on a line of exercise equipment. Primarily for home use. So, that's pretty cool. Anyway, this was recorded almost 2 years ago, as I make this little intro, in January of 2021. And the reason I've never posted it is that there are video problems. The first 3 or 4 minutes go all right, but then the camera starts jumping just to whoever is making the most noise. And that's usually Doug. I was seeking his advice, after all, in starting the conversation. So it's a series of alternating talking heads for most of the video. I did a little editing to get us both on screen a few times after those first few minutes to make it seem more like an actual conversation. Which it was, it just doesn't seem like it when you're watching just one head after another. So as I said, this is the first of several parts. And yeah, I hope you like this video. If you do, feel free to subscribe. Give it a thumbs up, whatever you like. And I'll see you in about 16 minutes.
I was working out at a local Equinox and they closed and I had no option. And so I didn't work out for a long time. In fact, ironically, I was recording some of the videos with Mo and some other people. And I just look as skinny as can be because I hadn't been working out at all. And I thought, boy, this is really a terrible time to be recording.
Well, I can attest, Doug, you as far as I have seen, you've never looked as skinny as can be.
Oh, well, thank you. But and of course, people's expectations are maybe unrealistic, in part because I've never been a large frame guy and I've never been massive to begin with. But the problem is that some people will associate the fact that I'm not massive with what I'm preaching.
Sure.
And they'll say, oh, well, yeah, you're one to talk. Look at you.
Right.
But what I was going to say was, my training partner, who has been my training partner for probably close to 10 years now. He, about, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, put together a nice little home gym in his garage. And it's got dumbbells from 2.5 pounds to 55, and an adjustable decline bench and a couple of seats that we've modified. And it's other bench that I'm sort of building right now, and a double adjustable pulley, a free motion machine. Nice. And the only thing missing is a hip extension machine, a glute machine. But and we're looking at a pre-owned one right now. But as soon as we get that, we've already canceled our memberships at Equinox, meaning that when it opens, we don't need to go back. Literally, we are getting a workout that is every bit as good, except for that glute until that arrives. Every bit as good as we were getting at a full-scale gym with the equipment I just described.
That is excellent.
My quads, my hamstrings, my calves,
and
everything.
The glute machines seem to be lacking in most places. I've never even seen one.
I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but a glute machine, a multi-hip machine, a hip extension machine, is exactly like a leg extension or a leg curl. Conceptually, right? The idea that you would apply a resistance to the end of the lever, the end of the limb that's being operated by that target muscle, is fundamental. When you do a curl, when you do a tricep extension, you are loading the end of the limb that's operated by the tricep or the bicep or whatever it is. So same thing with leg extension. When you're doing leg extension, you're loading the lower leg, the tibia, because that is the limb that's operated by the quadricep. Sure. The idea that you wouldn't have something for the glute that does the exact same thing is ridiculous. It really is, especially since anything that is an option is a distant second, third, fourth best.
Right. You know, at the gym I work at, it's a local community center, and it's got. I can't complain. It's cheap, you know, well, relatively speaking, per month. But it does not have a glute machine, and it's got a cable station with 4 stations, but they're not adjustable, which I want to ask you about actually here in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I have tried various things to try to sort of imitate a glute machine. Like I've
Is
pulled
that
a
where you're
bench
working
over
out
and
now?
stuck my leg up as high as I can and put a strap around it and tried to, but
Right.
it's a, no pun intended, it's a kind of pain in the ass trying to get it
Well, the
imitated.
problem with working glutes with cables, and I've tried lots of different variations, is that the glutes have a 110-degree range of motion. So you need a circular resistance.
Yeah.
You need a cam. You know, any singular direction of resistance, which would become either from free weight or from a cable, ends up being weird. It gives you either nothing at the beginning or nothing at the end, or ends up sliding up your leg. You know what I'm saying? I had a
Yes.
girl, I was trying to get, I put this ankle strap, I tried to get it around her, just above her knees
Mhm.
at the end of the femur,
Okay.
by putting 2 of these straps together, but that didn't quite work because the ring from the second strap was kind of digging into her leg. So we got rid of that. We just went with a single strap below the knee, just at the very top of the calf.
Okay.
And it's fine for the first maybe 3/4 of the range of motion, but when you get to the top, that cable just goes, you know, like almost wants to slide up your leg.
Right.
It's just very difficult to do unless you have some kind of circular camish resistance machine.
Okay. And I was going to ask you about that actually. If one's trying to, sort of replicate as well as one can, a glute machine, is it best to put, to strap it or just below one's knee or around one's ankle?
If you put it around the ankle, you have a couple new problems. One is that no matter how you try to avoid it, you're going to involve your hamstring. And that's going to be the weak link in the change because the glute is much stronger than the hamstring. And then on top of that, there's it's trying to straighten your knee. It's trying to hyperextend your knee. So you can't do it with a straight leg, right? You try to do it with a bent knee. The glute is a very powerful muscle. And so inevitably what ends up happening is you end up using far less than the glute can handle, that the glute actually needs, because of all these sort of difficulties having to do with loading. It would be like you trying to work your pecs. Here's a good example. Trying to work your pecs with a perfectly straight arm dumbbell,
Right.
heavy, right? You can do it, but you can't go heavy, right? Because you can imagine what that would do to your bicep. That's why you bend your arm, to eliminate the involvement of the bicep, but you can't do that with the legs easily. But that's the best analogy. In order to load the glute as much as you would need to load the glute for its benefit, you could compare that to what would happen if you did, let's say you took a pair of, let's say 40-pound dumbbells and went straight elbow out and tried to work the pecs that way. You would feel that the strain of that magnification going more on the bicep than on the pecs. It's just very awkward. It's very awkward. Look, I mean, there's literally no other machine that is dedicated to one muscle or one movement that I would say is necessary other than a hip extension machine for the glute. I would not recommend a leg extension. I would not recommend a leg curl. I would not recommend a calf machine. There's no other machine that I would recommend because you can do something, you have better options or as good options using dumbbells or cables, but you certainly cannot do that for the glutes. That's the one thing that I would say. And by the way, you can do a back stepping lunge.
Sure.
You can do a glute bridge. You can do a step up. You can do a modified deadlift. And they all work, but they all have problems. Like this girl that I was training who's trains very hard. She wants to compete. She said, I get hamstring cramps when I do glute bridges. I said, well, there's a very good reason for that. It's because as you're pushing up onto your shoulders, your feet are actually pushing down and forward. So the forward pushing is a friction force that's loading the quadricep. The quadricep engagement deactivates or sends a relaxation synapse to the hamstring because it's the opposing muscle. The hamstring is trying to function as a hip extensor at the same time. And so it says, well, I don't understand. You want me to activate or deactivate? And
Right.
what happens is it cramps. Very distracting. That's the reason why you want to eliminate the lower leg participation, if possible, when you're trying to load the glutes.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, and I can tell you now, as opposed to when we talked the first time here, last year, I guess, or because I've read your book and I've watched these interviews several times, I'm actually able to follow the conversation.
When you do a back lunge, you have a couple problems. One is the fact that, if you have any knee issues, you'll feel it in the knees. And also when I get on the glute machine, when I'm at Equinox or wherever I have access to one, my starting weight is a weight that I can do comfortably for 20 or 30 reps without maximum effort.
Okay.
Right? That's a lot less than half my body weight. That may only be like 80 pounds, 70 pounds, right? So that's ideally what you want is you want to be able to have enough variability in the resistance that you use so that you can do a set of 30 and you can do a set of 6 and everything in between.
Okay.
And you just move the pin or you take the next weight or whatever it is that you do so you can go through your progress of warming up and progressively increasing the load on every set and decreasing the reps until you end up with your lowest reps and your highest weight. When you're doing a lunge, it's half your body weight or nothing. You have to involve your lower back. You have to involve the lower leg. I don't want to involve those things. I just want to do just like if I'm going to do a curl, I just want to do the bicep. Right. I just want to do the tricep. That's all I want to do. I'm motivated to try to figure out a way to make kind of a simplified glute extension machine because it's obvious that there's a demand for it, a need for it, and it's not being provided by the market. Probably design something that allows hip extension that when you do that motion, it makes the platform that you're lying on go up and down. And so you're using your body weight or a percentage of your body weight, depending on how you configure the cams, just like a push-up, right? What's your resistance for your push-ups? My body weight, right? So if you can create a system where you can maybe change the angle of the lever that's moving the platform up and down, then you have your ways of varying the resistance. So on this setting, you use 20% of your body weight. On this setting, you use 40% of your body weight. On this percent. So you're still using your body weight, but depending on your setting, it changes the percentage. Something like that would be good because if you use a regular, like a Cybex multi-hip machine, you're not using your body weight at all. You're relying entirely on the weight that's on the stack.
Right.
Well, delivering a stack that's that heavy not only costs more to make, but costs more to ship.
Yeah.
So if you can come up with a way, have you seen those calf machines that are on a kind of a sled, a 45-degree angle sled? And you've got a little seat and a little backrest that basically just rises up higher than, the lower back. And that's it. And it's got a couple handles. And then in front of you, you've got a place where you put your feet.
Right.
So basically you're using your body weight to do calf extensions, but you're not using your full body weight because you're not going vertically. You're going at an angle. Right. And the more horizontal you go, the less percentage you get. So that's what I'm talking about. If you can use that concept of the angle, like if you go like this, it's 100%. Like this, it's kind of like 45%. And then it's more like 65, 85, I'm sorry, going the other direction. You go lighter and lighter and lighter, the more neutral it goes.
Okay.
If you got on a 45-degree leg press,
yeah,
but instead of pushing upward at a 45-degree angle, that rail was straight, you get nothing. Doesn't matter how, if you had 1,000 pounds on that thing, it's going to slide this way with no load on you because the weight is going down and you want it to go toward you. So the more that you angle that thing up, the more percentage you get.
Sure.
Right? If you did one of those old-fashioned leg presses where you're pressing vertically, that's when you're getting 100% of the weight, which basically means you don't have to put as much weight on there. The only reason someone can put 1,000 pounds on a leg press machine is because you're only getting about half of the weight that's actually on the sled. I mean, I'm using roundabout numbers because trigonometry would calculate differently.
Sure.
But the point is, the more horizontal the sled is, the less you get. The more vertical it is, the more you get. And so you could create a glute machine that uses a percentage of your body weight to load the glute without having to, put a weight stack on it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I had never, this sounds stupid, but I had never thought about explicitly that connection between the verticality, and the horizontal position and the amount of load. And so this explains why on the leg press at my local gym, I can press 400 pounds.
You can't squat 400 pounds.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the more vertical it is, the less diluted it is. You're getting all of it. And then you can imagine if I showed you what would happen if you keep bringing that thing down to, let's say, completely horizontal, you'd get zero.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much weight is on there, it would be zero, right? And if you brought it up a little bit, you'd get more than zero, but less than, a 45-degree angle.
Huh.
Physics, it's all physics. No, not yet. It's just in my head. I mean,
Okay.
I'm working with a guy right now. We're designing a line of equipment.
That's exciting.
In part because some of the exercises like scapular retraction, for example, they're not easy. Even if you have access to the equipment, they're not easy to set up. You have to kind of know how far apart the pulleys go, how far up and down they go, and of course, how far up and down they go depending on how high your seat is.
Right.
So it would be nice to have a machine that's fixed at the scapular retraction height and width, or that you could do something where, you're using the same machine, but the seat that comes with that machine tells you that because you're using the seat, the setting on this machine would be this for the height and this for the width. And it's all spelled out for you because frankly, I think it's going to be a long time before people start going to the gym again comfortably. In part because I think a lot of people have now found, I don't know how many, but some people have, like me, have found that I don't need the gym anymore. I can get as good a workout as I need to get with just this little bit of equipment in a garage or in a room in your house that's big enough to have. And so a lot of people, including me, would rather not pay $300 a month as I was paying. I think I was paying $250 a month, $260 a month.
Okay.
Equinox is expensive, but even if you're paying $300 a year, you can save yourself the expense. You can save yourself the drive. You can save yourself, the hassle of checking in and all that. And then, of course, there's always having to wait for a machine.
Sure.
The gym. So, I thought that the best solution would be to offer a line of equipment that would be perfect for those who can afford to make a home gym. And then we'll make a few pieces of equipment that'll be commercial pieces too, and a leg extension, a leg curl, things that, are commercial pieces. You don't need them at home. But, as you can see from my book, there's a lot of things that leave room for improvement with conventional machines.
So that was the first of several parts of my last one-on-one real-time conversation with my friend Doug Brignole. I hope you liked it. If you did, feel free to subscribe. If you haven't, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Take care of yourselves, all right? Talk to you soon.